Welcome back. Tensions between a rural KwaZulu-Natal community and the Hluhluwe-Imfolozi Park are growing. This comes after several incidents of wild animals escaping through the dodgy perimeter fence. eNCA senior reporter Dasen Thathiah filed this special report. Have a look.
Traveling to Hluhluwe literally takes you off the beaten track. The village has a notable location, bordered by the Imfolozi River on one side and the Hluhluwe-Imfolozi Park on the other. Ben Kanile is one of the elders here. One afternoon in 2014, he did what he often did. He wandered into the nearby bush to fetch his cattle. But he found something far more perilous that day.
Kanti sodongene nunu ukuphuma kwayo lapho kanti singibonile nunu yaphumela kimi ke nje kwabo kuphela kwaba yilokho nje yaqabana nami yayeka izinja yaqabana nami phela nje uze ngilimale kanjena ke kodwa basesiqiweni mabefika kukhulunyiswana kwabantu abathi inuno yangaphandle akuyona sisiqini leyo nunu lithe lami kepha mayibulawa le nunu ngiyibulala manje yini ngoba nizongibopha futhi saziwa kwathiwa nje yangaphandle noma ngize ngithole lelo sentshanane elincane i-60,000 leyo.
Kanile was mauled by a leopard, and he can't forget the trauma even if he tried.
Izandla mina ngisenazo manje bengiphila kanjani ngisenezandla ngangigawula nje le emahlathini ngigawulela mama inkuni kodwa ngibeka nodaka wesitini ngithi ngizama impilo manje sengihlupheka kakhulu ke manje ngoba angisakwazi ukwenza lutho nje sengiphakela ugogo wasekhaya uyangifunza njengengane njengasenazandla benginezandla zami mina.
Hluhluwe community members are acutely aware and wary of their neighbors from the wild. In the past year, at least 2 herds of elephants have escaped from the park. Earlier this month, there was a dispute over how many of the animals were on the loose. eNCA Wildlife reported retrieving 5, but residents insisted they'd seen 9. Some within meters of their homesteads. These types of incidents create anxiety for many, and Nozipho Shange is one of them. Her 18-month-old baby, Siphiwo Shange, was mauled by a wild dog last year.
Ngithi mina ngano uyatetema kodwa le ndlela akhala ngayo kufanele ngabukhala kanje uma ngithi ngiyaphuma ngifike ungafika nje ngajabhela kuso isilwane yabona uma ngithi fuseke savela sasuka sahamba uma suka sihamba ke ngaso leso sikhathi bese ngoba useyopha ngendlela esimanga amazinyo angenile la elokhuzeni la ngezansi kwendlebe nala esandleni uyopha bese ngithatha amanzi anosawoti ngenze ukuthi nginqama ukukopha.
But the attack was too severe.
Kwaqala ke nge-23 ingane ukhomba ukugula kwaqala nge-23 esegomela umgomo wesi5 kwaqala ukuthi ingane ke ikhomba ukushisa sitshela ukuthi umkhuhlane sithenga umkhuhlane sihambise kadokotela ayijajeni imali yakhe ke nayo lo private doctor sihambe nemgomo sekhaya vele lokho ngathi uyabuyisa engathi uyakhonkotha ayisibone ukuthi hayi lo muntu uyagula sivele simtransfer esibhedlela. Ngidinga ukuthi ngithole isinxephezelo bengifuna ukuthi ukuze kuvaleke lento angazi ingavaleka kanjani kodwa nje kwakhona ukuthi ababanga nabo ubulungiswa ke ukuthi mhlambe bebe seduze nami noma bezongikhalisa noma bezoba nami mhlambe khona okwakuzoba ngcono ukuthi banami kule nkinga enginayo kodwa nje akuvelanga ngisho yedwa.
Baby Siphiwo Sake passed away on the 31st of October. In most cases, like Shange's, it's difficult to prove animal ownership. eNCA Wildlife didn't respond to a direct question around how their animals are accounted for, but did say a system exists to deal with attacks.
We do have a process. Our representatives in the parks, around Hluhluwe-Imfolozi Park, we do have a manager that deals with human-wildlife conflict and the community conservation officers. We use our traditional structures to make sure that we verify the incidents.
But some cases are still not resolved.
Ngihamba la ekuseni ngiyogawula mangifika egawuleni ngihamba nezinja. Izinja ngazizwa yilokhu ikhonkotha ethe iqhamuka zaqhamuka seyibaleka ziza ngakimi kade zijahwa inoni. Inoni yafike lapho yabamba mina-ke. Zabaleka-ke zona zabuya zazo ikhonkotha yathi uma ingibamba isandla lesi sangena emlonyeni yasihlafuna ngoba la kwakunenyama nje ayiphumile kangaka. Ngaye ngawa phansi ngaphunyula yangibuyelela ikhathe ezintathu ngihlehla lokhu ibuye izinja ziyiphazamisa nezingane engihamba nazo.
Ntombizethu Mkhize was mauled by a leopard in 2004, leaving her with permanent injuries. She claims at the time she was offered a job by an official at the Hluhluwe-Imfolozi Park, who has since passed away.
Funa ngiyosebenza esiqiwini angufuni nomsebenzi ngathi mina ngeke ngikwazi ukusebenza kwisandla sikwazi ukusebenza wasesho ukuthi ngizokhokhelwa ke lokhu likhulunywa nje udaba liqhubeka akuningi nje kwenzeka kubikwa kodwa nje umuntu osukuhamba naye uphelele endleleni ungabe kusaphumelela ukuthi kuye phambili ngoba kusukela ngaleso sikhathi nje lokhu ngadla amaphilisi kuze kube manje ngoba yingiphethe kahle lengalo.
A wildlife expert says it's critical for communities and parks to work together to ensure a sustainable relationship.
It's very important for communities and park management authorities to have very good ties to work together. I know in the case of Escalation and wildlife, there's various forums set up in order to try and create dialogue with communities. These things aren't always easy, but it is very important, and it's the only way that these problems can be solved if there's regular dialogue and consultation between communities and park authorities to try and work together on these problems. These parks are very important. They create employment opportunities for communities, and the value of those parks need to translate into something tangible for communities so that both sides win. This is a fence.
But there's another reason why Ngulwane residents are upset.
It's all shaking.
Yeah. The reason why these animals are escaping from the game reserve is because of the fence is aging. It's falling apart. We spoke to them and they're telling us that, last year was it 2020, there was about 35 million that was paid for one contractor, and the contractor never did the job. He just ran away. And we are asking them, how come that such money was paid to them, and we are getting no answers. It's all about the fence. They need to fix the fence, and they are telling us that they're going to be fixing the fence. I think it was December where Ravi Pillay, the minister responsible for the game reserve, came here and he made a lot of promises, and of which those promises are not materializing.
We had a contract with a certain contractor, which unfortunately I cannot mention the name because the matter is now with the courts, as we have embarked on a civil claim against the service provider that I'm talking about. We had about a 35 million worth of a contract that was meant to cover the bulk of the perimeter fence at Hluhluwe-Imfolozi Park. Unfortunately, the work did not go according to what was expected, and we ended up having to embark on a process which was unfortunate, which had to do with disciplinary processes with our internal staff, who ended up being dismissed. And we are now embarking on this civil claim that I'm talking about in courts. I would not want to dwell much on the issues because the matter is still sub judice, but safe to say that we did have a contractor which was meant to fix the fence. What we have now done, we've actually bought the material and we have engaged the local communities to assist in erecting the fence, because the communities have been instrumental in assisting us in erecting the fence before. So we have not yet covered all the areas, but we are doing all we can to make sure that all the areas that are still giving us problems are covered.
What were you saying about this?
Esemvelo KZN Wildlife is currently in a fragile state. hit by budget cuts, poor revenue generation, and failing infrastructure. Its entire board was suspended in 2020 over financial irregularities. That has not given some communities much faith in its ability to uphold responsibilities. Although the entity did not comment specifically on individual attacks, it has said, in general, people are harmed when animals are provoked. Victims like Mkhize, who's still trying all legal avenues to get compensation, are frustrated by the situation.
Kwavuma ukuthi isilwane siphume ngaphakathi esiqiwini ngoba nalabo babefike futhi la kukhona umadonsela nabo bavuma ukuthi izilwane ziphuma ngaphakathi kodwa nakhona bevuma ngoba bafike bephike bethi isilwane akusona esabe sangaphandle kodwa inkinga mase umphakathi usubeka ukuthi mangabe isilwane usishaya umuntu uyaboshwa mabe singaphandle noma ngabe ushaya singaphandle uyaboshwa kodwa mangabe silimaza umuntu kuthiwe sangaphandle.
Dasen Thathiah in Ulundi, KwaZulu-Natal.